everyone. I'm laughing because I'm still trying to work out the lighting in this little booth. So for any of you who haven't seen the booth, by the way, hi group. Hasn't it been so long since I've been on here? I think I'm working out what it is that is giving me the band. I think I'm using like the wrong words or something. Or whenever I share something from here into the Facebook into my Facebook profile, or from my profile into here, it doesn't like it. Now, I know friends who do that, but it doesn't like it when I do it, and that's fine because I just won't do it anymore. So I'm sorry that I've been a bit neglectful. It hasn't been intentional, and the move to things on my Facebook profile wasn't what I'd wanted. But we roll with the punches. So for those of you who don't know, here I am in the hive, as I love how it's called that, and I'm Laura, and I am in the title, as you can see, the cycle breaker lady. And a lot of people that either that I know from a long time ago. So a good friend of mine, I've recently been doing these research calls for something where I'm thinking about offering parenting skills course, because a lot of people contact me about that, and I always say no, no, I go deeper, and it's actually becoming quite clear that there's a whole lot of people that I'm not serving who aren't ready or don't want to, or feel they don't need to go deeper, and that's fine. So what I've been doing is making these research calls so that I can work out what people need and how I can best serve you, the people, and the people of the world, anybody who supports a young person or a child. This is what I do. And a couple of people, sorry, I've got really itchy eyebrow, a couple of people that I've known for a long, long time, and even people that I've only known for, like 2-3 years, they've been saying, you are different. You are so different, and you're on fire, and you speak in a way that I've never seen you speak, and you're passionate in a way I've never really seen you be passionate. And actually, they're right. I think I've always been a passionate person. I know I've always been a passionate person, but I self-muted for, I'm going to move one last time so that I could be comfortable in this corner. There we go. I think that's better, although it does look like a padded cell. Ah. No jokes. And, yeah, I kind of want to tell, I want to share why. Now, I am going to do a written post, which I'm going to put on the Facebook profile. I want to make this group more of, it's called the After Conscious Community. I want it to be a community. I want us to be together and feel like we're together, and for people to be able to post in this group. Oh my goodness, I did something today, like one of my kids threw his food on the floor, and instead of shouting at him, I was just able to go, oh, something's made you really mad, and we got on really well. Or my teenager gave me a hug and I just need to share it somewhere. This is what I want this place to be. And when I work one-to-one in the 6-week program, which is deactivate triggers, activate love, so we go deep and we work out what the triggers are, what the things are that are stopping us from showing up how we want to do, through no fault of our own. This is the important thing. It's really, really important. There is no fault and no blame. I'm so sorry, the lighting in here is so terrible. I think I might have to just plump up for a studio one day, but that's a big move, isn't it? Yeah, I ask people to share a lot in that group, because somebody who signs up for a cycle breaker program is a cycle breaker. They know they have a cycle. They have stuff in their childhood, because these are the people that I talk to. They have stuff in their childhood, in their early youth. They often have parents who have stories, who have passed their stories onto them, intergenerational stories, and they are either repeating to a certain extent those patterns, or they are scared that they're going to. And anybody who has that, and has that little voice that that occasionally comes out when they snap, and they suddenly go, oh my god, that was my mom. Oh my god, that was my dad. Oh my god, that was my auntie that brought me up. Anybody who has that knows that the the fear, the fear of, I'm going to transmit this it's scary as hell. It is scary as hell, and it doesn't need to be. I mean, it is scary, and however you feel is valid. This is pretty much the crux of what I say. Whatever you feel is valid. But what our job is to do is to be curious about what we feel, and it's to think, what is this fear telling me? Because it exists. I need to feel it. I need to write it out. I need to go for a walk. And then I need to make a choice based on that. Am I going to acknowledge that I have this fear and then just carry on tomorrow with the same thing? Most people do that. It's a fact. It's a depressing fact. Most people do that. They just like, they acknowledge it and then they push it down and they push it down because frankly, if you were a child of the 70s, 80s and 90s, that's what you were taught to do because that's what they did then. That's what we did then, and that's what we internalized. And most of us, I would argue, anybody who has made their way into this group, however you found us, we don't want to live like that. We don't want our kids to live like that. We want our kids to be free of fear and complex attachment to us, and we want our kids to be brave and feel strong and safe and loved. So I ask a lot of people, I ask a lot of people, I say, here's your safe space, tell me your story. And they tell me. And some of these stories, I'm going to swear, they completely knock me on my ass. It's terrible. Some of the things that people have had to live through are terrible. And I want to help those people. And I am one of those people. So I feel like I need to share my story with you because it feels fair and it feels right, and I can't be saying let's create this vulnerable community where we can all support each other and love each other and there's no blame and there's no shame, and I will tell you why I have held off for so long, and it's basically because I have family, and it's so funny because I'm saying the same thing that my clients say. I have family too, and I worry about what they say and what they think and how they will feel. I'm in a strange position where the person that I'm going to tell you about actually isn't here anymore, which is very sad, but also very freeing. That thing of like, when famous writers, was it Roald Dahl, who was like, publish my memoir when I'm dead? And then, no, it was Spike Milligan. So, this is a calming chamomile tea. My dad was a drinker. And I didn't, these things that you don't realize until you're a grown up, like, oh, that doesn't happen in other people's families. And then a bit later you go, oh, good God, it really doesn't happen in other people's families. So my dad was a drinker for my whole life that I knew him. He drank, and he drank a lot, and he drank every evening. He drank on work days. He drank at the weekend. We often didn't see him for a long, even when we lived in the same house. And I now know, which, I didn't know when I was 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I didn't know that that there was this term, a functional alcoholic. And actually, the more I reflect on it, like he was this incredible mathematician. He was an incredible musician, and he worked. I don't really understand what he did, but I do remember that he used to work in City Hall in Leicester, and he used to do like data management and supercomputers and just incredible stuff. I mean, also, and this was late 80s, early 90s. Like, he was one of the first people to get on computing and do a master's and stuff. So, like, in some ways, he was a pretty awesome human being, but he couldn't cope with life. He just couldn't. And it's taken me so long to get to this point. But I now know that he had a really horrible upbringing himself. This is another reason why I've been, I guess, afraid, and I've been self-muting. I've been not sharing my truth out of fear of other people. But here is the fact. He wasn't brought up very well. He wasn't treated very well. He was sent away to schools where he wasn't treated very well, and he ran away, and he met my mom, and they got married, and he was in his mid-late 20s, and she was a teenager, and she got pregnant with my lovely sister, surprise, rock and roll 70s baby, and they got married. And that turns out to be, with all the love for the child, it turns out not to be a very good foundation for a marriage. Shotgun wedding. So they, I mean, they're actually really, I truly don't think that there is ever any doubt that they loved us, that they love us. I mean, my mum's, still here and she's happily remarried and she's found the person that deserves her and it's great. But although they loved us and my mum really worked her butt off to protect us, my dad couldn't cope with noise and life and stress, and I think maybe the stress of his job. Again, I just don't understand it because I was so young then, and computing and being at the forefront of a new era of STEM, I guess, which is always a real shame to me because I just think like I could have learned such amazing things from him. But his trauma, this is where I have got to now. This is why I do what I do. His trauma stopped him from being able to show his love. Because what would happen was we would make too much noise and he would freak out. Like he'd just freak out. And we learned very, very quickly that a twitch of a flip-flop was a sign to scarper. We learned very quickly that I can't even do it. The eye thing, like he said, the eye thing, we learned to get out of the damn way. Because otherwise it would be a belt or it would be a flip-flop, or at best, if we were lucky, it would be in a cupboard because he knew it was coming, so he would put us somewhere, I think, in order to keep us safe. This is not the things that childhood dreams are made of, is it? And we got out, and it was hard, and we did really well, and this is what I mean. I expect my clients to tell me about this stuff. And I need to tell you my truth. Because the reason I can do this is because I know what it's like. I know what it's like to come out of that shitstorm and get straight A's. And for everyone to be like, oh my God, you're so amazing. You must have such a happy life. I was at the time, just after we left this house, after my sister and I convinced my mum to leave him, I was the chair of the student council for my school. I was vivacious, I was happy, I had loads of friends, and I was a straight A student. And I went on and got straight A's in my A-levels, and many of you know that I'm dyslexic as well. So for me to have overcompensated is, wow, I mean, it's a trauma response, isn't it? It's also, we had to be very quiet. Like, we didn't have friends around, and we weren't allowed to go and see friends because I think my mum knew that, if I went to, friend A's house, eventually friend's mum would be like, oh yeah, so she can reciprocate, she can come round. And my mum was like, I can't risk it. I can't have another child in my house in case, dad comes home and flips, or, if it was something that wasn't prior arranged, then, I don't know what the word is, if it was a surprise, if he came home and there was a surprise other person, he would just freak out. And of course, I now know, because of all the reading that I've done and because of all the, the children and the adults and the training courses that I have chosen to be on in order to heal myself, and the environments that I've chosen to work in order to, I guess, break the cycle. I think I didn't know that when I was a teacher, and I didn't know that when I was in youth offending. But that's what I was doing. I was at the embryonic stages of here, which is learning everything that I could find about trauma in order to work out how to process my own trauma, and in order to work out how to forgive this poor messed up boy who had kids. Oh God. And this is where you can get, because when you go through it and you feel it and you reflect on it and you think of this, all the crap that you learn as a kid. Oh no. When you learn how to look at what you thought as a kid, so me as the kid thinking, why wouldn't my dad love me? Why is he so scary? Why is he, really loving only like once a month, and then the rest of the time he's like, stay out of my way, stay out of my way. Like, why would he hit me with a flip-flop one day and then try and give me a hug the next? I don't understand. And of course, as children, and we know this, there's buckets of research that I've read, research that informed the program that I created to help other people who grew up like I did. We did learn some really, I'm not going to say stupid because stupid denigrates what it was, but we learned it wrong because we learned it with the eyes of a child who doesn't know better. We who learned I am not worthy of love, we who learned no matter what I do, I can never make my world safe. You know when you come home with some piece of artwork one day and you get a hug, and then you come home with the same or similar piece of artwork the next day and you get a slap around the head, and you're like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I want? Because as kids, you want to please your caregivers. And you can't do that when the problem is with the caregiver and that the caregiver is unable to show up consistently for you because they have their own crap. And of course, you can't process that when you're 6. So when you are age 0 to 7, you come up with these. I did a post on it of the kid that I once taught in year 2, so that's age 6, who thought that he lived next to a cloud factory because he was like, people go in, clouds come out, it's a factory, cloud factory, that's where clouds come from. It is perfectly sensible. And he's my child development master's research head. That is perfectly, I mean, that is a stellar example of kid logic. This is what 0 to 7-year-olds are developmentally appropriate. This is their programming, and it makes sense at that age. The trouble is when it comes down to one day they love me, one day they don't, because all we know is adults are stock figures at that age. They're just there. You know, like when you're a teacher and everybody thinks that you live in a cupboard because they don't understand, and they're not supposed to. But we come out with this crap that we hold on to for years of, I am not worthy, no one will love me, no matter what I do, I will never please people. And this is sensible logic for that age. Unfortunately, it forms the basis of our subconscious, and we carry this shit with us into life, and we act on it. We become the people pleasers who put everyone first. Oh, I'm going to turn the light on, sorry. We become the people pleasers. We become the people who can't say no. We become doormats. We get into relationships with people who are not good for us, because when we grow up in chaos disturbingly becomes safe, because safe is what we know. It's normal. I mean, normal as in it happens the most often. Example, this is an awful example, and I apologise in advance because it's horrible. I didn't realise, seriously, I didn't realise until I was pregnant with my first, age 29. I didn't realise, so basically I was sick like 5 to 8 times a day with my first, like it was awful, non-stop, and the boys just didn't suit my body, and my trigger was teeth brushing. I mean, it still gets me. If I still don't do it right, I will be sick. It's really awful, and it's just well, that's my trigger, isn't it? And it wasn't until I was being sick when I was 29 that I was like, my dad was being sick every morning. This is the sound. And I remember bringing it up with my mum when I was like, I don't know, year 1 or year 2, and my mum saying, oh, he's not very good at brushing his teeth, darling, that's all. And then, you're like, okay then. And every morning for my entire childhood, so my dad was being sick in the morning. And that in my house was as normal as brushing teeth was in your house. Because that was synonymous with brushing your teeth. This is the thing, like, we don't realise until we examine it as adults. We come out with these crazy scripts that have us on like train tracks of the way that our decisions happen, the way that our lives go, of like, I'm not loved, I'm not capable of pleasing people, nothing that I do is ever right, there's something wrong with me, inside me. And then when we look at them, well, a lot of people never look at them. This is the tragedy, and this is why intergenerational cycles perpetuate. When we do this in my program with one-to-one people, it's always emotional. Like, I mean, I've got a new respect for the people that I work with because some of them don't even know me that well, and then we sit and we establish the safe space, and then they just tell me this. I mean, stories like mine, and it's only when we're unpicking them they're like, it's not normal that I sat in a cupboard every night to hide from a grown up. It's not normal, is it? And I'm like, no, it's not. It's not normal. It's not right. By the way, that's me talking to me, and then the trouble is that we, if we don't examine it, we will carry on with this. I'm not loved. I'm not worthy of love. It's something inside me that's broken. In actual fact, what it is that your parent, it is as simple as your parent, and simple is not easy, by the way. It is as simple as your parent has crap, they haven't dealt with it, they have passed it on to you. There is no blame on any child. And we now know as adults and young people supporters, like me as a teacher, I've seen it again and again and again, which is why I left teaching to do this. Because, I mean, the good work goes on in schools. Good, great work. Schools are safe spaces for a lot of people, but what I want to do is this, this niche, the cycle breaking between generations. So when we actually examine it, I think it's week 3 or week 4, it's the one where everybody like drops their pen and sits back and goes, holy shit, they didn't love me less than they loved my sister. It's just that my sister had extra needs and they couldn't cope with her. Yeah. And then they're like, oh my god, I'm free. It's just incredible. And isn't it a shame that it takes us till our 30s and 40s to do it? But isn't it great that you can do it? So you can feel like you're caught in this cycle of intergenerational crap, and it's trauma. It's just trauma, and it's passed down from one generation to the next generation and the next generation and the next generation. And here is the amazing thing that hopefully my story will tell you. So I grew up in that. I did not enjoy that. I came out kind of messed up from that. And nobody's ever healed. Self-healing is a it's a lifelong process. And, every time you think that you've solved something or that you've got to grips with it, you find something else. It's like, I hate cliches, but the peeling of the onion, the unpeeling of the onion really is just accurate. You get down and you think you're fine for a bit, and then something will happen. You're like, whoa, uh-oh, it's come back again. And then you have to go back to the start, and you just keep going on with the process. This is life. This is conscious living, and it is self-healing. So yeah, the good news is that you can come from all kinds of backgrounds, and with the right support and with the right tools, you can heal it and you can break the cycle. If you grew up like me and you did, there were flashes of joy, and my mum, bless her, she tried so hard to protect us, and she largely did. And I still came out with wounds, obviously. And a lot of us come out with wounds, and it doesn't have to be, capital T trauma. It can be, my parent was never there. Because, turns out your parent was working their arse off because they grew up with no money and they never wanted their children to have that. Therefore, they were always at work thinking they were doing the best. But they've unfortunately, unwittingly perpetuated a new cycle, which is parents not being there at bedtime. It's just tricky, isn't it? So this is us now as parents and carers and young people supporters. We have the power and truly, I think, the duty to look at this and to examine it and to go, I'm going to do it differently. We can do it differently. There are techniques. This is why I won't shut up about it. Because I know what it's like to grow up in that life, and I know what it's like to break the cycle, and I know what it's like to be set well on the path of self-healing, and to be able to be like, oh, okay, I'm being triggered right now. I know what to do now. I know what to do. And it's also why my program I lead people through the program, but also you get skills that you use forever. So it's not like a thing that lives in a bubble. It's a thing that you could do forever, because I know, because I've been there, that you think you've dealt with it, and then example is my dad used to drink Tennant's lager. God, disgusting stuff. Like really cheap stuff, really cheap nasty stuff. It's funny. And and I thought I was fine, and I'd been through like my initial process of healing myself, read loads of stuff, seen someone, many people over the years, and then I went to a party and somebody handed me a can of Tennent's, and I was like, oh, going home. I could just, oh, just punch me in the face, completely punch me in the face. And another thing that I told someone, I was talking about grief, because my poor messed up dad took his own life in 2011. One of the things that I remember from the good times, because there are good times in everything, and it's okay to know that there are good times and that it wasn't okay, was licorice all sorts. And it can't have been this Christmas, it must have been the one before. I was in Sainsbury's and I saw some licorice all sorts. And that was his thing. I just remember really clearly, he didn't like sweets, but he did like licorice all sorts. And I just started crying in Sainsbury's. Can't explain it. Well, no, I can. This is the thing, I can explain it. It was a trigger. It was a trigger, and I was tired, and it was Christmas, and I was a bit stressed out. Getting, I think it was like the last shop before. Not that the shop's ever really shut, but I felt the pressure of like, okay, we're probably not going to go out for 4 days. Let's get everything. And then, and then this thing popped up, and I was like, poof. Now, 5, 6, 7 years ago, that would have sent me in a big spiral. But now I know what to do. I basically went home and cried, and then I did, my journaling, I did my Ho'oponopono, and I worked through it, and I came out the other side. And I came out the other side stronger, because I had conquered it again. Because that is self-healing. Now, I know this, which is why when I'm working with people, cycle breakers, who are, I don't know, you know how like Dante talks about the, I'm going to go many, I think it's 8, but I can't remember, circles of hell. I think there's like got to be like circles of respect. This is my own theory. Maybe I'll write a poem, like an epic poem one day. I think there's a circle of respect for cycle breakers, and we bloody deserve to be there, because it is hard, because we're doing this in addition to being moms, wives, dads, humans, people at work, professionals, part of our community, making cakes for the school fete, or whatever. We are doing this in addition to life. And many of us are wildly successful because we are motivated to get out of where we grew up. So, that was a bit emotional. I'm really tired now. I'm gonna go and find some chocolate. Sorry if that was a bit triggering. I probably should have put a bit of a trigger warning on. I will do it now. The reason why I won't shut up about it is because I've been there. The reason why I feel that I have a right, I shared a post the other day, which was about like, I am a leader, I am a good leader, I can tell you I'm a good leader without feeling like I'm bragging, because I always said this in the classroom, I wouldn't dare show my face unless I was going to be the best teacher those kids could be, because they deserve better than, oh yeah, I'm alright as a teacher. Oh yeah, I'll probably be alright. No, if you're working with kids, you be the best you can be. If you're working with cycle breaker adults who had sometimes really crappy backgrounds, or had not great backgrounds, anything that they are trying to break, as far as I'm concerned, you don't put your hat in the ring and say, I'm willing to help you, unless you're going to be damn good at your job. I am. I am. And the reason I am is because I wouldn't let myself do this if I wasn't. Not I expect, but I hope that people will share with me what their stories are, because through sharing with me, when we work together, sharing with me and sharing with yourself, because often I'm finding people are saying within our work, I haven't said this stuff out loud forever. And you know what? This is the first time I've said this to anybody who's not my husband. Bless him. And to say it out loud and to share it is how you heal. So I just felt like now has come the time where it's upon me to share my story with you. Message me if you want to, if anything came up, and I will put a trigger warning on that. Okay. Thank you. Bye bye. Thank you so much for being in this group. And I promise, now that Facebook's letting me back in it, I promise I will build it up again, and we will share more stuff, and we will do amazing stuff, because we are changing the world. There's no doubt in my mind. The ripples of traumatized people or people with rough backgrounds, however you want to say it, changing it for the next generation, who then, they ripple out. They ripple out their goodness and their calmness and their ability to be who they want to be and grow into their authentic selves without layers of scary, without layers of trauma. These ripples change the world. And if we can get like hundreds of thousands of people breaking cycles, that is intergenerational love. You're part of it. Brilliant. See you soon. Bye.